Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 211. Without any delay, start explanation. Tang Wulin nodded and said with a smile, "Thank you, teacher." "Teacher, in your opinion, how much can I sell this block of heavy silver for?" Mushi could not help but curl her lips at the side. "You haven't changed at all in this regard. Have you grown into a money grubber already?" She did not know what Tang Wulin and the others required for their current mission. Mu Chen shot his daughter a glare. Then, he chuckled. "Why would you sell it? I'll keep this block of half-step soul refined metal in my collection. You're my most outstanding disciple. I'll flaunt this piece of metal at the headquarters. I think even your uncle master will be terribly envious. Ha ha ha. Since you've reached the stage of half-step soul refinement, you're already qualified to give your own metal a name." Tang Wulin's heart moved. He hastily said, "Teacher, why don't you think of a name for it?" Mu Chen looked at Tang Wulin with shock. For a saint craftsman, naming one's own metal was an extremely glorious event. It was rare for one to give this honor to others. Although he saw Tang Wulin's sincerity, Mu Chen was still hesitant. However, Tang Wulin had already said, "Teacher, I won't be standing here today if it weren't for your teachings and guidance. Please don't turn me down." Mu Chen laughed. All right. There's nothing that makes me happier than this. Well then, let teacher think of a name for you. I see that dragon scales covered this heavy silver you refined. Why not call it dragon scale heavy silver? After this, all your soul refined metals will be known by the name dragon scale. How about that? There's the character of Lin from Chilin in your name. That counts as a homophonic character. Okay. From this moment on, all of Tang Wulin's future metals of half-step soul refined level and above would have their own names. A heavy silver would be named Dragon Scale Heavy Silver, Dragon Scale Essence Gold, and so forth. Once a rare metal got its own name, its value would become unimaginably high. Besides, the special properties of every saint craftsman's soul refined metal were different. Not every soul master could use the soul refined metals from a single saint craftsman. Tang Wulin's soul refined metal was infused with his Golden Dragon King's bloodline. Once it was truly and completely soul refined, it would be of the highest grade in the saint craftsman's world. That was how high its quality would be. It would be suitable for all battle armor masters. It would be especially suitable for assault system and strength system battle soul masters. Tang Wulin had carried out some experiments before this. The metals which were half-step soul refined by him could even resist the imposing pressure from his Golden Dragon King bloodline aura. This was because they shared the same roots. In the future, if his comrades wore battle armors crafted from his dragon scale metals, he could at least make sure that they would not be affected by his bloodline aura during a battle. Mu Chen gave Tang Wulin 500 Federation coins. That would be enough to cover all their expenses throughout their journey. If he had truly wanted to sell the dragon scale heavy metal, its value would have certainly been more than that. Furthermore, this was only a half-step soul refined metal. In any case, Mu Chen had bought this metal to keep as a collectible. It was significantly different. "Senior disciple sister, I'll be taking my leave." Tang Wulin waved at Mushi, who had walked them out the door. Even though Mushi had never quite warmed up to him, she would still walk Tang Wulin and his comrades all the way to the door when it was time for them to leave. As she looked at Tang Wulin, who waved at her with a smile, Mushi bit her lower lip. Suddenly, she rushed forward and gave him a hug. Tang Wulin was shocked by her action. Mushi's slightly sobbing voice reached his ear. "Take care, Wulin." Mushi did not wait for his reply when she let go of him. She ran back to the Blacksmiths Association in a hurry. Her fragrance lingered, but a deep sense of loss surfaced within him. This sense of loss was not merely due to their parting, it was also because Tang Wulin suddenly felt, at this moment, that he was no longer a young teen, nor was he a child anymore. He was already an adult. The youth of his teenage years were gone for good while the responsibilities were growing heavier. "You hate to part with her?" Xie snickered beside Tang Wulin's ear. Tang Wulin smacked his head angrily. A 20-seater minibus halted in front of them. It was the transportation Mu Chen had arranged specifically for them. It would send them directly to the Seoul train station. Truth be told, Tang Wulin had a natural dislike toward Seoul trains. It was because the few incidents he encountered while taking the Seoul trains had left him speechless. However, he could not deny that Seoul trains were currently the quickest means of transportation for them to get to the military training venue. The academy had set the time for their arrival, and from Elder Cai's tone and expression when she last spoke to them, he could tell that it would not be easy for them to get to their destination. Naturally, it would be best if they could save some time during the early stages of their journey. Moreover, they were no longer teenagers. Everyone was a one-word battle armor master. There were 7 one-word battle armor masters in total. Their combined battle strengths were exceedingly powerful. After thinking it through, Tang Wulin made the decision to take the Seoul Express train. They arrived at the Seoul train station and bought their tickets. Tang Wulin did not utilize his special rights. He bought a ticket and boarded the train. The train had not started moving when Tang Wulin's breathing became slow and sluggish. The seats were arranged in pairs on one side. Tang Wulin sat together with Yu Jingyu, Xu Lixi with Yi Xinglan, while Xie Xie, Yuan and Yehui, and Xu Xiaoyan sat on the other side where there were 3 seats in a row. When Yu Jingyu heard Tang Wulin's sluggish breathing sounds, he could not help taking a peek. He was surprised that Tang Wulin had already fallen asleep. He was definitely exhausted. 6 months of cultivation in the academy was truly tiring. In addition to that, there was the soul refinement which he attempted just now. Tang Wulin was not only tired physically but mentally as well. He sat beside the window deep in his sleep. His handsome face appeared serene, his long eyelashes distinct on his lowered eyelids. Even when he was sound asleep, he still looked good. Yu Jingyu glanced at Tang Wulin. He sat there and started spacing out. Throughout these 6 months, he too felt tired. Ever since he was rejected by Xu Xiaoyan at the Sea God Lake Date Festival, he had changed quite a bit. The letdown had affected him greatly. After he helped Tang Wulin search for Gu in vain, he did not step out his room for a whole month. He secluded himself in his room and felt ashamed to face anyone. The pride in his heart would not allow him such a defeat. Gradually, he began to understand what his problems were during that fateful day. Nevertheless, his pride was unwilling to admit the mistake. From the beginning until the end, he thought that Xu Xiaoyan would still come to see him, to give him an opportunity to explain himself. However, it did not turn out that way. Half a year had gone by and Xu Xiaoyan had not come to meet him. The both of them seemed to have grown apart. He would not have been in so much pain if he did not like her so much. This could not have been true for Yu Jingyu. He had truly fallen for Xu Xiaoyan. He had fallen for the young lady who was eccentric but gentle as a lamb. However, the Holy Angel clan's pride had stopped him from apologizing. That was what pained him the most. Yu Jingyu sat there blankly. Perhaps, he should find an opportunity during this outing to have a good talk with her. He subconsciously turned to look at Xu Xiaoyan. He noticed with surprise that Xu Xiaoyan was also looking at him. Their eyes met. Both of them instinctively avoided the other's gaze. There and then, there was an indescribable urge in Yu Jingyu's heart. He stood up suddenly. He crossed the aisle and walked to the side of the 3-seaters. Xie Xie sat on the outermost seat with Yuan and Yehui beside him. Xu Xiaoyan sat nearest to the window. Yu Jingyu said to Yuan and Yehui, "Yuan, can I swap seats with you for now? I have something to say to Xu Xiaoyan." "Hey?" Without waiting for Yuan and Yehui to reply, Xie Xie had looked at Yu Jingyu with a slight dissatisfaction. However, when he saw the depressed look in Yu Jingyu's eyes, he got up feeling a little helpless. Yuan and Yehui said nothing. She stood up and went to sit beside Tang Wulin. Xie Xie simply stood beside her. He gave up his seat to Yu Jingyu as well. Xu Xiaoyan heard Yu Jingyu's voice. She raised her head, glanced at him, but immediately turned her head toward the window. Yu Jingyu went over and sat down beside her. "Xiaoyan." Xu Xiaoyan did not turn her head. I'm sorry. If you're still upset about what happened during the Sea God's Fated Date Festival, I apologize to you again. I was too impulsive back then and too full of myself. I offer my apologies. It's been half a year now, and I've been thinking more clearly. You're really very important to me. I'm willing to put down my pride. He was halfway through his speech when Xu Xiaoyan abruptly turned around. She looked at Yu Jingyu with cold eyes and said, "Are you doing this for charity? I don't need your pity. I don't need the charity from the high and noble Holy Angel clan. Yu Jingyu, you know what? I've seen through you on that day back then, the real you. I've always thought that I'd be very happy to be with you. But I only understood on that day, in your eyes, I'm nothing. In your heart, I'm just a woman who's no different from a serving girl who should forever be at your beck and call. You're very outstanding. You come from a well-known family and are very powerful. But I've told you, I'm not interested in all that. I don't care about all that. You're apologizing to me? If you really realize your own mistakes, you won't wait for half a year and only come to talk to me today. There's no way that you can put down the pride in your heart. It's impossible. Your inner heart is always high in the air above everyone else. I will not and will never be the girlfriend of a guy who'll never place me at the same level as him, leave alone let him become my future husband. So, forget about us." Xu Xiaoyan's voice was noticeably slightly agitated. Even the passengers in front and behind them could not help but shoot them sideways glances. Yu Jingyu sounded slightly exasperated when he spoke. "What more do you want from me? I've already said my apologies. Xiaoyan, who says that you're not on the same level as me in my heart? I like you. I really like you." Xu Xiaoyan raised her hand and made a cold gesture that meant, "Pause, I've said it. Forget about us. Please leave. You're making me uncomfortable by sitting beside me." Due to his rage, the rise and fall of Yu Jingyu's chest became noticeably intense. He never expected Xu Xiaoyan to reject him with such cold and emotionless words. It was already extremely difficult for him to have uttered words of apology. However, what he got in return was such an outright rejection. "Xu Xiaoyan, I know that you're rejecting me because you feel inferior. You're feeling inferior, right? Why can't you just face the problem between us straight on? I didn't come and find you for half a year because I was unable to calm my feelings. You're right, I do value my pride greatly. That's why I was really angry and hurt when you rejected me in front of so many people back then. However, I've thought it through for these 6 months. I've understood that love is more important than my pride to me. I've also come to say that I'm sorry to you. What more would you have me do?" Xu Xiaoyan snorted, "I don't want your love that feels like charity. And I'll have you know that I've never felt inferior. Let me remind you that I'm also one of the Shrek 7 monsters. Why should I feel inferior? Go away." Yu Jingyu stood up abruptly. "You better not regret this." Xu Xiaoyan turned her head in the other direction stubbornly. She did not even spare him a glance. Yu Jingyu fumed as he returned to his original seat. Xie Xie and Yuan and Yehui frowned as they listened to the conversation between the two of them. "Can't be any gentler," Xie Xie said helplessly. "You must know how to appease girls." Yu Jingyu roared, "Mind your own business." "Who wants to mind your business?" Yuan and Yehui stood up. She pulled on Xie Xie and returned to their original seats. She comforted Xu Xiaoyan, who had reddened eyes. Yu Jingyu sat down with a thump beside Tang Wulin. He was still unable to extinguish the flames of rage within him. It was as if a large rock was on his chest, which made it hard for him to breathe. Xie Xie was not angered because of his beratement. He was even starting to feel sorry for Yu Jingyu. As the saying went, the spectators see the chess game better than the players. Xu Xiaoyan was not wrong. Yu Jingyu was too proud. His pride was embedded in his bones, born out of a lifetime's upbringing in the Holy Angel clan. It was not something he had acquired just recently. There was no doubt in his heart that he liked Xu Xiaoyan, but there was also no question that his words during the Sea God's Fated Date Festival had left a deep impact on Xu Xiaoyan. If he had realized it in time back then and immediately went to talk to Xu Xiaoyan, he might still have stood a chance. However, he did not. Pride had blinded his heart. The problem of losing face even made him ignore Xu Xiaoyan for 6 whole months. Maybe Xu Xiaoyan was not as proud as he was, but she was still a lady. After being given the cold shoulder for half a year, how could she not have fury and flames of anger within her heart? The only thing that Yu Jingyu should have done at this moment was to speak gentle words, maybe even appease her doggedly and shamelessly. Naturally, his chances would have been far greater. He must let the lady vent her anger one way or another. However, Yu Jingyu even felt that he was wronged in his heart. After Xu Xiaoyan fought back with a few words, he naturally blew it. This undoubtedly escalated the conflict between them. In such matters, the advice from outsiders was useless. In fact, they would make matters worse. Tang Wulin was really exhausted, which was why he had slept soundly. Even Yu Jingyu and Xu Xiaoyan's loud conversation was unable to wake him up. Yu Jingyu glanced at Tang Wulin beside him. Suddenly, he felt as if they shared the same fate. Ji Yu had left in a baffling manner, and Enea was also missing. How great of an impact did it have on Tang Wulin? What about himself? He was not in a better state. The Seoul Express train sped along, was stable and fast. Their destination was very far away. It was the seaside on the northeastern region of the entire Deluo continent. Even by train, it would take them a full 3 days to reach there. Hence, this was a long-distance journey. Very quickly, daytime was over. The world outside the window gradually fell into darkness. Xu Xiaoyan's and Yu Jingyu's moods were not good. The two of them had not eaten anything for the whole day. The others did not try to advise them too much. At this point in time, they were still in fits of anger, thus counseling them would only be in vain. Tang Wulin had already divided the money he got from his teacher with everyone. Long-distance trains were equipped with dining cars. After they ate their dinner, Xu Lishi asked Yi Xinglan in a slightly worrisome tone, "Sister Xinglan, Captain has been sleeping for an entire day now. Should we wake him up?" The seats of the long-distance train were much more spacious than ordinary trains. If one reclined the back of one seat, one could almost be lying down. There was no issue with the level of comfort. Yi Xinglan shook her head. "Let's not wake him. I think he's not exhausted physically, but mentally. Ever since Ji Yu left, he has been pushing himself a little too hard. Let him have a good rest. He's the one who needs to relax the most among us." Xu Lishi touched his own chubby cheeks. "I really don't understand why Ji Yu wanted to leave. Captain is such a nice guy. What is it that can't be talked through between them? Even if it's really something related to Spirit Pagoda, we don't even have any conflicts with Spirit Pagoda." Yi Xinglan shook her head again. "I don't understand it either. But I don't think it's that simple. In the few years when Captain went missing, Ji Yu had become very silent. Also, if there were no classes, she wouldn't stay in the academy. She was even keeping her distance from us on purpose. As for the exact reasons, I'm afraid that they're the only ones who'd know about them. Maybe Captain doesn't even fully understand it himself. Let him have a good rest. There's nothing that can't be solved. We'll have to face it sooner or later." As they were talking to each other, suddenly the Seoul train shook violently. Everyone was first astonished. In the next moment, the entire Seoul train suddenly inclined to one side. An ear-piercing sound of friction and the shrill screams of fear filled the entire car in an instant. The slender Seoul train seemed to have been flung upward while charging forth at high speed. It had been sent flying. It traveled at an extreme velocity. The sudden change seemed to have disconnected all 16 cars in an instant. What just happened? Everyone was greatly shocked. Even though the Shrek 7 monsters had frightening strength, this unexpected change that came out of the blue had caught them completely off guard. They were almost sent flying from their seats in an instant. Moments like these were the opportunity for the Assault System Battle Soul Masters to display their strengths. Spots of starlight burst forth from Yi Xinglan's body. A dazzling energy sword shot out. In an instant, Her body and the sword fused into one. She pulled on Shulishi with one hand. The train rolled sideways, but she floated loftily in the car and did not move. The rolling car was instantly cut open by the sword which burst forth from her body. She carried Shulishi with her as she leaped. The others also reacted to this incident. Wings unfurled behind Yu Zhengyu. As he did a sideways leap, his pair of wings protected him. At the same time, holy light burst forth, forming a shining barrier which enveloped him within it. On the other side, Yuan and Yehue's body suddenly enlarged. She spread her arms out and placed Xie Xie and Xu Xiaoyan into her embrace. Having transformed into the Titan giant ape, she curled up her huge body as she protected both of them. With her body's powerful defensive ability, she bounced about in the rolling car. However, when Yi Xinglan cut open an exit on the car, she also leaped out in an instant. Tang Wulin was the most unfortunate one. Due to him being in a deep sleep before it occurred, he was completely unprepared for it. Even if the first jolt of the train was unable to wake him when the train was flung horizontally, Tang Wulin's body was also catapulted out, and he crashed heavily onto the side of the car. He only opened his eyes at that moment. He was welcomed with the sight of his companions being tossed out of the car. Tang Wulin's body rolled uncontrollably within the car. He reached out with sleepy eyes and quickly grabbed hold of the car's wall. Golden scales appeared on his body. Tang Wulin shook his head as he tried desperately to regain consciousness. Then, he parted his hands and tore the car open with his bare fists. Although his body was jettisoned out, it was much easier for him when he was outside. His body was flung into the air again. He could already see the situation before him clearly. The entire Soul train had been derailed and was sent flying. The cars broke apart in the air and scattered all around. What was more terrifying was that many people were thrown out from the cracks. Those ordinary people were not Soul Masters, nor did they have the abilities to adapt like Tang Wulin and the others. Almost all the people who had been flung out were instantly reduced to a blooded mess upon impact. It was a gruesome sight. Tang Wulin was speechless. Why? Why was this happening? Why must he be faced with such unexplainable situations whenever he took a Soul Express train? Was every Soul train accident in the Federation's history connected to him? He was practically the Soul train's jinx, and a powerful one at that. He curled his body in midair. The instant he landed, Tang Wulin put all of his strength into his strike. He threw a heavy punch onto the ground and used the powerful reaction to dampen the momentum he built up while flying out of the car. With one roll, he dropped to the ground. With the defensive abilities of his body, naturally he would not have been injured during the process just now. However, being yanked from one's sleep was never a pleasant experience. Whatever the case, Tang Wulin dared not slack off now. He looked for his companions at the first opportunity. Fortunately, it was easy to spot everyone, especially the spots of starlight on Yi Xinglan's body. Tang Wulin hastily ran toward his companions. He had to make sure that his friends were safe. Of course, the Shrek 7 monsters would not have been harmed by this. Tang Wulin was the last one to assemble. The 7 of them looked at each other. Finally, their gazes were focused on Tang Wulin. Their gazes communicated a thought that was more than words could convey. Tang Wulin coughed. "Let's hurry up and rescue the people." "Wait," Yi Xinglan suddenly said with a deep voice, "something isn't right. The level of security for a Soul train is extremely high, so how could it derail all of a sudden? Could this have been done on purpose?" The entire Soul train was already off the tracks. The cars were flung onto the open field all around them. The 16 cars had broken into 7 or 8 segments. For a time, all sorts of cries could be heard from all around. A Soul train had the capacity for more than 500 passengers. The number of casualties from such an accident would not be low. After hearing Yi Xinglan's words, Tang Wulin was also on alert. He said with a deep voice, "Everyone, retract your martial soul for now." He had faced the evil Soul Master before, and the experience was definitely not a pleasant one. If the derailment this time was not an accident, then it would not stop there. At this exact moment, they saw beams of light shining silently far away. The light was not strong and seemed to be purplish in color. Xie said in a low voice, "I'll go take a look. You guys hide yourselves." As he spoke, he swayed and his body immediately turned illusory. It was as if he had melted into the air and vanished without a trace. Agility System Battle Soul Masters were most suited to conceal themselves and be in charge of the investigation at times like these. Tang Wulin made a gesture. The others quickly found some cover in their surroundings and concealed their bodies. Rescuing the people was a must. However, if there was an enemy present, taking care of the enemy was of higher priority. Within a minute, Xie had returned. "Someone did this. They are massacring the casualties. There's 50 to 60 of them. They are all equipped with beam assault rifles, and they are killing everyone within their sights. Captain, what should we do?" Tang Wulin said, "Can you tell how powerful they are?" Xie said, "I can confirm that they are all soul masters, but I couldn't tell how high their cultivation bases are. If they're only using beam assault rifles, they didn't unleash their martial souls. But, judging from their speed, they are not weak. Come, let's go." There were no unnecessary words. In situations such as this, faced with these terrorists, how could they just sit by and do nothing? Tang Wulin rushed forward quickly, the others followed behind him. Yi Xinglan and Yuan and Yehui flanked him, and they were followed by Xu Xiaoyan and Xu Lixi. Yu Jingyu and Xie brought up the rear. Xu Lixi mumbled some soul spells, and he rapidly produced buns which he passed to his companions. Agility Xiaolongbabo, a type of steamed soup dumpling, could increase everyone's agility. He also prepared some bloodthirst bin buns for when they needed a sudden burst of energy. Very quickly, Tang Wulin saw the enemies mentioned by Xie. These people wore black outfits. In the darkness of the night, they appeared like ghosts. Lines of purple beams were fired from the beam assault rifles in their hands. They were shooting at the cars. The men in black wore helmets over their heads, which effectively covered their faces. When Tang Wulin and the others rushed to the scene, and they were immediately spotted by someone among the figures in black. The 3 to 5 shooters who were closer to them immediately aimed their rifles at them and started firing soul beams. Tang Wulin took a step and golden scales covered his body. At the same time, blades of blue-silver emperor shot forth and formed a barrier in front of him. The soul beams could only give off patches of light when they hit the blue-silver emperor. Tang Wulin tapped on the ground with the tips of his toes and his entire body shot out like a cannonball. He was still in midair when he scratched at the empty air with his hands. An intense suction force erupted from each of them. They were like 2 whirlpools as they pulled 2 stumbling men in black toward them. Golden dragon claws jutted out of his hands. He slashed at the 2 of them at the same time. The 2 in black had lightning reflexes. They immediately unleashed their martial souls. One of them had 3 yellow soul rings, while the other had 1 white and 2 yellows. They were both surprisingly soul elders. The soul master on the right had a beast martial soul. His body suddenly toughened up, and a pair of bull's horns even grew out of his head. With the suction force of Tang Wulin's golden dragon claws, he lowered his head and charged in Tang Wulin's direction. The other man in black's martial soul was a broadsword. He raised the blade and slashed at Tang Wulin. Pew! Tang Wulin's left golden dragon claw sent the bull-type martial soul master flying with a single smack. The terrifying force disintegrated the man's body in the air. Tang Wulin's right golden dragon claw grabbed the broadsword that swung toward him and it shattered instantly. A soul master was connected to his martial soul. The soul master instantly grunted. Tang Wulin made a fist with his right golden dragon claw and struck directly on his chest. His back arched up immediately. His entire body flew away like a cannonball, and then he also exploded into a mass of bloody mist in the air. What Tang Wulin hated the most were ruthless terrorists like them. He would never show them any mercy. After he took care of the 2 of them with lightning speed, he immediately charged toward the other and more numerous men in black farther away from him. Beside him, Yuan Yehui and Yi Xinglan also launched their attacks. Yi Xinglan's star-god sword in her hands drew sharp lines in the air. Spots of starlight burst forth from the star-god sword. How could the men in black who had the average cultivation basis of soul elders withstand her attacks? She was not as violent as Tang Wulin, but her every stroke seemed to take out one of them. Yuan and Yehui unleashed her fallen angel transformation. She transformed into the fallen angel, which was more suited to battle in the dark than the Titan giant ape. Her shadow demon sword hacked lines of purplish lights in the air. She also took out her enemies swiftly. The 4 persons behind them did not even have the opportunity to attack. The trio of Tang Wulin, Yixinglan, and Yuan and Yehui was just too fast. With a show of their faces, 5 or 6 men in black had already met with their deaths. The commotion immediately attracted the attention of the people in black further away from the scene. Concentrated lines of soul beams suddenly shot toward them. "Look out, soul cannons," came Xie's voice. Tang Wulin instinctively turned to look. He saw a person in black hoisting a cannon on his shoulder, which was coincidentally aimed at him. In the next instant, with a whistle, a mass of bright purple light flew straight toward him. Tang Wulin snorted. His body flashed with golden light. 4 golden soul rings surfaced on his body. The first soul ring lit up, golden dragon body. His entire body was covered in golden scales. He reached out with his left golden dragon claw in an instant to grab the mass of light. Exploding with a loud boom, the soul cannon was detonated by Tang Wulin. The powerful force of the blast pounded him. It only made his golden dragon scales shine brightly. It did not even make him falter backward. At the same time, the soul master who fired the soul cannonball fell limply to the ground. Xie had already launched his attack when he warned Tang Wulin. In terms of speed, Xie was undoubtedly second to none among the entire team. When they went up against these people in black who mostly had cultivation bases of a soul elder, an agility system soul master clearly had the upper hand. Shadow Dragon dagger flitted between illusion and reality. Scores of black figures fell to the ground, never to get up again. Tang Wulin took charge of the middle. He protected Xu Xiaoyan and Xu Lixi behind him as he kept an eye on the overall situation. On the other hand, Xie, Yuan and Yehui, Yu Jingyu, and Yi Xinglan rushed out to fight the other people in black. No threats were detected. Dozens of people in black fell like the fragile dead branches breaking off a tree in the face of Shrek 7 monsters' powerful attacks. Suddenly, fear flashed across Tang Wulin's heart. He turned around without any hesitation. He hugged Xu Lixi and Xu Xiaoyan behind him and rolled to the side, all 3 of them together. A grayish-black shadow disappeared as quickly as it appeared. It left a chasm that was 5 meters long and a meter wide on the ground. It was so deep that they could not see the bottom. What was more terrifying was that sides of the chasm were breaking away with blinding speed. "Evil Soul Master!" Tang Wulin yelled in a deep voice. "You dare stop us? Your souls will be offered as sacrifices," a cold voice resounded in the air. A silhouette began to appear slowly. He hovered in midair and was completely covered in a grey outfit. He had the smell of haze on him. There were a total of 7 soul rings on his body. 2 yellows, 3 purples, and 2 blacks. Soul Sage. This was shockingly an evil soul master of a soul sage rank. He was not the only grey figure. In the darkness, a time door seemed to have been opened. A number of grey figures appeared silently. There were more than 10 of them in total. They had at least 4 soul rings, but there was only one with 7 soul rings, the one who was facing Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin's heart sank. If the grey outfit represented a soul master, then the concurrent appearances of a dozen evil soul masters were undoubtedly a huge threat to them. The evil soul masters were evil because they would use vicious methods to improve themselves. Not only could they improve themselves quickly, but their abilities were also far superior. Compared to a soul master of the same rank, the evil soul masters were much more powerful. Their existence was solely to bring destruction and ruin. Their evil cultivating methods would inevitably distort their personalities that they might even be beyond control. "You guys go help the others. Leave this to me," Tang Wulin gestured to Xu Xiaoyan and Xu Lixi behind him. Both of them understood the extent of Tang Wulin's strength. They ran toward the others without hesitation. The Shrek 7 monsters had collaborated together for a long time. When the others noticed the evil soul masters, they swiftly gathered about Tang Wulin. The evil soul masters had launched their attacks at this moment. They did not have any intention of communicating with them. Only about 20 people in black were left from the large group that had appeared earlier. When they saw the evil soul masters, they immediately scattered and rushed toward the train. It was obvious that their massacre mission was planned. The presence of the group of evil soul masters seemed to be reinforcements. The evil soul master in the air spread out his arms. A puff of greyish mist suddenly burst forth from his body. He moved swiftly and pounced toward Tang Wulin. A pair of greyish-black sharp claws went straight for Tang Wulin's head. What incredible speed! This person in grey was even more agile than Xie Xie. Tang Wulin felt his vision blur for an instant when the sharp claws were already upon him. One of them went for his face while the other went for his chest. If he was scratched by those sharp claws, the result would be horrific. Agility System Evil Soul Master? Tang Wulin did not retreat. When faced with such a swift opponent, it would not have made any difference if he had moved backward. His body flickered with golden light. Tang Wulin crossed his pair of golden dragon claws in front of him to protect himself. So what if he had 7 rings? When he only had 4 rings, he was already bold enough to take on the 6-ring Long Yu head-on. Currently, his cultivation base was already at 5 rings, and his overall strength had also improved by leaps and bounds. His second golden soul ring lit up. The scales on Tang Wulin's body instantly transformed into a mirror-like state in an instant. Ding! Ding! 2 crisp sounds were heard. One of the evil soul master's sharp claws scratched Tang Wulin's chest whereas the other scratched his arm. Tang Wulin only felt 2 cold sensations tunnel into his body like surging water fountains. However, his mighty Golden Dragon King bloodline aura erupted instantly. He forcefully blocked the cold sensations and did not allow them to invade his body. The evil soul master felt as if his pair of sharp claws had scratched an iron board. Then, the scales on his opponent flickered quickly. Roar! Amidst a dragon's roar, a huge golden dragon head burst forth from Tang Wulin's hands. At the same time, the third soul ring on his body lit up. Roar! A violent dragon's roar quickly followed the previous one. The evil soul master felt his body shake as the blood essence within him started surging as if it was no longer under his control. In the next moment, the golden dragon head had already reached him. Golden Dragon shocks the heavens plus Tang Wulin's blood essence soul ring skill, Golden Dragon Roar. Faced with an evil soul master with a 7-ring cultivation base, Tang Wulin had to end the battle as soon as he could. Only then would he be able to assist his comrades. That was why he held nothing back the moment the fight started. Golden Dragon Roar was a stopping skill. It had a formidable controlling power. It was especially effective when his opponent possessed a dragon-type martial soul. This evil soul master's martial soul was not a dragon type, and his cultivation base was higher than Tang Wulin's. However, Tang Wulin was no longer the boy he was 4 years ago. He had obtained the support of so many dragon spirits in the Dragon Valley. The density of his blood essence aura greatly exceeded his previous levels. The sound of the golden dragon roar shook the entire field. Every evil soul master slowed down, not to mention the one who was fighting him. However, this evil soul master's strength was equally formidable. The instant golden dragon shocks the heavens hit his body, he was sent flying backward by the impact. He quickly reacted to the situation. The 5th soul ring on his body flashed, and he turned into a puff of greyish mist. Golden Dragon shocks the heavens shot through the mist, not landing on anything solid. The mist solidified far away. The 7-ring evil soul master was obviously angered. He let out a sharp howl. The greyish mist around him suddenly increased in intensity. The 3rd soul ring on his body lit up. When the purple soul ring was shining, there seemed to be a thick smell of blood in his nostrils. Tang Wulin felt dizzy. Shortly after, the blood within his body seemed to be riled up as if it wanted to burst out of his body. Eh? This was his first time encountering such a situation. His opponent's soul skill seemed to be able to control his blood. Despite being shocked, Tang Wulin snorted. Blood essence reversal. He forcibly controlled the blood within him. His entire body shone brightly with golden light. After he was stimulated by his opponent's soul skill, he felt it easier for him to utilize his bloodline power. A faint golden haze appeared around him. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.